coffin bones here, and so at your leisure, you can come up and feel them. And these three over here, they're labeled as to which foot they are, and I want you to look and see that there's a difference in the articular margin as far as angle, different in solar surface width, and these hooves over here that still have a dome. Look at where the terminal arch is, where the deep flexor would attach. See how that's all elevated? This is from a 3-year-old that broke down, that had raced very long, had these involuted heel bulbs or invaginated heel bulbs, but still had a dome. And then this is from a research horse, about 2.5 years of age, one of the unsullied. And then these are coffin bones. These are plastic replicas, 3D prints of a 7-year-old. And these horses had flattened soles, but I want you to notice how flat the dome, it's completely flattened out. And this horse also had a cylindrical keratoma, so we had bone loss on this lateral side here. But I want you to note there is normal asymmetry, masked amount bone loss. Loss of the dome. So when you look at these coffin bones, realize how low the deep digital flexor is, how close it is to the ground, how close the terminal arch is, and then realizing that these horses are running on soles that are about 6 millimeters thick, and that's caudal sole depth as well. And then the same with this 4-year-old thoroughbred, same pattern. So this should give you an idea of what you may be dealing with if you get one of these off the track, and to realize there's a lot more underneath than you could ever imagine. And these horses are incredibly difficult to maintain barefoot unless you're able to somehow adjust this. Their solar surface is relatively wider than a hoof like this compared to their articular surface, so their coffin bones are splayed out, which is going to be related to how these ligaments we talked about in the flexor interact with the bones. Clicker. All right, so we're going to throw some garbage out. So the deep flexor doesn't glide over the navicular bone. Hopefully you'll understand that it's fixed in location beneath the navicular bone, and it has a unique interaction with the navicular bone. And this is with the ligaments we talked about in the first talk, the deep flexor tendon, and all this impacts hoof morphology. And then the coffin bone architecture, which you will see up there, is impacted far more than we ever imagined. And yes, these are thoroughbreds, but you see the same thing in chronically shod horses of other disciplines. And it just takes longer to show up and then contract at the same time. So just to review what we went over, we have all this missing anatomy that nobody ever taught us about. So we have the Cunian digital cushion back here, especially that dorsal roof, and it shouldn't fold in so easily. We have the chondropulmonale ligaments, the CPLs, and then there are 2 pair of those, and they're not present in probably about half the cadaver hooves I look at. That you should be able to get an idea when you're examining the hoof on a live horse if they're there or not. These horses without them will have very weak heel bulbs that distort easily, invaginate easily. I think there may be a genetic component to some of those horses. And then we have the CPL, or the CCU ligaments, that run alongside the deep flexor tendon. They attach from the coffin bone, go back, fused with the deep flexor, and the collateral cartilages on the ventral floor. Once they get to that level of the navicular bone, deep flexor goes up, the CCU ligaments head back, continue alongside the cartilages, and then blend into the sub-Q tissues, the heel bone tissues, frog spine, shoot back up to the deep flexor tendon, and P2 and P1. So we've also talked about that it's the deep digital flexor tendon that restores hoof capsule morphology when it can. So if we interfere with the ability of the deep flexor to pull the coffin bone back, the toe of the capsule is stuck to any device, and it's going to have trouble, and then we get all these distortions as a result. And then some horses are so distorted, they have a lot of solar soft tissues, their deep flexor is neutered. It can't do anything. It's just like, I can't do anything. So we also talked about how the heel bulbs are literally attached to the deep digital flexor tendon. So the heel bulbs have all these deep digital cushion ligaments running through them. They go back up, tie back to the annular ligament, and that is tied to the deep flexor from P2 distally. So these are not pathologic adhesions. And again, the ligaments of the digital cushion literally tie and tether the back of the foot to the upper part of the foot and the front of the foot. So it all ties together. So when you see heel bulb distortions, I hope that you can say, I know what's going on underneath, or I have an idea. So when you see sheared heels, that's a distortion of the CCU ligament. So they're out of whack, but I think the origin of the distortion is actually coming from the coffin bones. The coffin bones become distorted. And then the elongated frogs are elongated cunion digital cushion, elongated CCU ligaments, and they may be irreversibly damaged. When you have bent heel bulbs, remember that there should be CPL ligaments there, and that's a caudal part of the cunion digital cushion. When you see that, or instruct your clients, that's bad. Get me out to retrim, reset, do something. And then these stretched pasterns back here, that looks like the skin is being pulled down. It is. So all these digital cushion ligaments attach to the skin, back up to the deep flexor, and when the toe is immobilized, everything's getting pulled down underneath the hoof, and that includes the skin too. And then this poor horse was an expensive horse in a rehab facility. Nobody noticed that the perioblicoria, so the coronary band, comes to here, and then boom, it goes down. It should be going straight across. This is bad. And he's got a prolapsed sole, prolapsed coffin bone on top of it. So what lies above these three regions of the frog? Remember, I want you not to think frog, I want you to think internal. So what's beneath curtain number one? If you were to take a bandsaw, slice through there, what are you going to hit? Coffin bone, right? Anything else?
Insertion of the deep flexor.
Yep. So you have the deep flexor attachment to the coffin bone. And then on either side, the CCU ligaments. And then on top or below that, so between the external frog and all those structures, you have that cunion digital cushion, so that everted part of the digital cushion that's there to protect the deep flexor. So under zone number 2, what would be under there? Correct, navicular bone. And so you have navicular bone, what's under that? Yep, deep flexor tendon, and then on either side, the CCU ligaments. And then again, cunion digital cushion. And then under zone number 3, remember, the standing hoof is not a loaded hoof. So what's going to be under there in the truly loaded moving hoof? It's going to mash down on that.
P1 and 2.
Yep, P1 and 2. So we have the P1, 2, and deep flexor tendon, right? And then the rest of the digital cushion. Then when you see this bulge in the frog, you often see that. That's where the navicular bone is above it. And sometimes it means it's far away, sometimes it means it's really close. So if you have a horse that you're like, oh, this is negative plantar angle, that is the last bit of protection it has to the navicular bone. And interesting, when I was doing my horse Carson, and then took him out, and he reverted, I put the device back on him, and I was watching this area, this bulge right here, every day. I'm like, is it changing? Is it changing? And one day, it inverted, it like got sucked up. And I'm like, oh my God, the navicular bone got moved up, and then it filled back in with this digital cushion material and the rest of the frog and the feeling. So that's the navicular spot right there. And you can see where it is in relation to the bars. Bars are reflected in the collateral cartilages, which is reflected in the CCU ligaments. So you don't change the orientation of bars by carving them. That comes internally. So when you see these more squared off bars, that's the CCU ligaments and the cartilage being pushed out to the side. So we talked about this here. In 2 weeks, miraculously, it came before perfusion. So we had this heels opening up, bars going back to where they should be before perfusion set in. So right away, when you look at this picture, you should think bones did that. bones press down and cause those tissues to move over. So we have the impact of P1 and P2 right at the back where the heels are. So that's what opens the heels, is the other phalanges coming down. It's not physically trying to spread the heels from below. All I did was fix the heels, but let them be flexible. P2 and P1 came down and spread those open. Same with the right at the level of the navicular bone. You can see the impact the navicular bone had. Like, you guys move back over to the side. And then the reason that the horse responded so quickly this time, in just 2 weeks, popped right open, what had not reverted? What had memory? I was like, something had memory. What was it? The coffin bone. So the coffin bone had become so distorted originally, and it took a while to get it open again, and it didn't revert. And so this has stayed that way. The coffin bone has not yet reverted so far 2 years out. So taking him out of the device, he still has more of a normal inverted cone. And then people don't realize this, but this is what I call the four-way stop, where the deep flexor tendon is tied in right underneath the navicular bone. So I don't know if this pointer's working, but where you have the CCU ligament, that in anatomy books has been labeled as just a ligament connecting to the collateral cartilage or annular ligament. It is neither. So we have all these four structures: deep flexor, CCU, the chondrous pointing ligament, collateral cartilage, all together at the four-way stop. So there is no sliding or gliding going on. It's fixed in location. And I happen to have 2 MRIs on my computer when I was doing lectures on soft tissue injuries and ultrasound, just to compare to MRI. And wow, look at it right there. So we have a four-way, right at the four-way stop. So all 4 structures are abnormal or injured. So when you have an accident at the four-way stop, it's more than one vehicle. I was going through these photos of Dr. Bowker's, one of his articles. What strikes you? This is an India ink stain. So stains blood vessels. It's like really remarkable in that. That should tell you about the navicular bone function. Look at how the power, there are no blood vessels in the deep flexor underneath the navicular bone. That was picked up by this Indian ink stain. And I asked Dr. Bowker, he said, well, it's fibrocartilage, but I thought it was just a superficial layer. Well, whatever. That deep flexor beneath the navicular bone is void of vessels. So to me, that's like, okay, it's getting pushed outwards. So the navicular bone is pressing down on that deep flexor tendon. It's very distinct. So to me, this isn't sliding or gliding going on. And if you go through to archive.org, it's amazing. You can look at old Farrier textbooks from articles from the 1800s and 1700s, and this was written in 1832. And so Mr. Turner said there's got to be more to this navicular bone and navicular joint. It seems like there's nothing to it, but it must. Nature intended it to have some considerable action. And I wish he was here or watched YouTube. And it's amazing. So I thought, okay, is there any evidence out there? I thought I remembered seeing a fluoroscopy video on Workman Horseshoes or Workman Care's website. I gotta go find that again. And here it is. And Dr. Jenny Hagan and Workman Horseshoes gave me permission to use this video in my presentation. And just watch. It's frozen. There we go. Just watch the navicular bone. Doing its own thing. It's going separate from P2 and P3. Mesmerizing. So a close up here. This is just a walking horse, or not a pony walking fluoroscopy video, but you can see how the coffin joint is extended. That navicular is completely changing its orientation. And this looked like it was on a flexible platform. And I put a little marker here and then superimposed the coffin bones to see what would happen pretending that it was moving in relative to deep flexor. So you can see that the point where it's going to get the most pressure is right where we see navicular disease injuries, at that distal border of the navicular bone in that area of the deep flexor tendon. So it makes sense that this is going to get a lot of pressure there. But it didn't look like it moved out. So, well, what else is there? And a farrier actually posted this on YouTube. So this was from the Royal Veterinary College. And Dr. Alan Wilson gave me permission to use this in my presentation today. And there it is, hard to see, but it's the same thing happening with that navicular bone. So it's getting pressed out of the joint during coffin joint extension. And we know the deep flexor is fixed under the navicular bone, so it's pressing on the deep flexor. And if I take my little imaginary deep flexor and CCU ligament and then superimpose P3, so we're seeing what would happen relative in coffin joint extension, boom, there it is. It's pressing outward and down onto that deep flexor, so it's going to pull it down or push it down. And then this was interesting. I took the barium line on the hoof capsule, superimposed at different phases, and this is similar to the very first video I showed you of the CT images superimposed on fluoroscopy, a really cool video where the coffin bone is being lifted up, and the same thing was happening. So if you, I know it might be hard to see, but you can see how the coffin bone within the hoof capsule is being lifted up, yet that dorsal wall is staying still. So there's independent motion there, and if you realize, my God, that must have a great impact on circulation and laminar circulation, almost, just plunger, moving blood around. But it's just amazing that it doesn't move as a unit. So we all think of the coffin bone hoof capsule moving as a solid unit, and it doesn't. So I hope you can understand now that the navicular bone does its own thing, and it presses downward and outward onto the deep flexor tendon and the CCU ligaments, specifically in the posterior phase of the stride when the coffin joint is extended. I was preparing these specimens, so I was boiling the bones to, get them to show people, and I pulled them out, and the ligaments between the navicular bone and coffin bone were still attached. So I got a wild hair, and I put my thumbs right on the sides of the navicular bone where the P2 condyles will be pressing down during coffin joint extension, and look, so I think that's the articulation of the navicular bone. That's what it's doing. It's getting pressed outward. Now, what always intrigued me was the location of the terminal arch foramen beneath the navicular bone. And I thought, And as Pat Garden mentioned to me once, some of these hooves are dead. They're just dead. And I thought, I wonder what would happen with the navicular bone in coffin joint extension. And so I did the opposite, turned it around. So as I pressed down, there must be some effect on circulation. So it's acting as a valve, shunting blood in one direction or another. But I thought that was really interesting, intriguing. What it means, I don't know, but it may tie in. And so some of these hooves that have neck palmar angles and their navicular bone, they've lost so much tethering to the back of the foot, their navicular bone sticking out, that's pressing possibly on the blood vessels in this area. And if this is Carson again, then when you ossified it and pop back in and everything perfused. So there may be a vascular effect too when the navicular bone is in an abnormal position like that continually. And also I could see that was at standing, and we talked about the standing hoof is not a loaded hoof. So imagine what happens in that hoof, and then the coffin joint when it's extended, and that navicular bone really presses down even more. It must be incredibly painful. And so you can see, this was a healthier hoof, but just dramatic how the navicular bone evidently cuts down on the deep flexor, pulling the coffin bone and the hoof capsule back, and then the CCUs, it's like you get out to the side, get back to where you are, and you have these squared off bars, which at first I was like, what did I do? Oh my God. And had to Google healthy hooves and see that this is not abnormal. This is a good thing to see. And obviously there are other tissues there, so you might not see the squared appearance in healthy hooves, but it's not abnormal. So how does this all tie in with the bones and the distortion? So we realize that the navicular bone gets pressed downward and outward during coffin joint extension, which then is going to pull on the impar ligament, navicular bone to coffin bone, and then the deep flexor. Remember, the deep flexor doesn't glide or anything, it's sort of fixed in location there, so there's going to be tension on the attachment of the deep flexor to the coffin bone. So when the navicular bone gets pressed outward, there's going to be tension, it's going to tend to want to pull that coffin bone back and up. So that's part of the foot mechanism or hoof mechanism. So what happens if we say, no, you can't have your toe capsule, the toe capsule back for whatever reason, and we know that the attachment of the coffin bone to the capsule is very strong, we've got the sole, pillow, and lamina, and it's stuck there. We have a little bit of motion as we saw, but it can't move, so it's tugging, tugging, tugging. So it becomes a tug of war under the navicular bone. The navicular bone is pressing down on the deep flexor. Oh, can't pull this coffin bone back. So one of two things then would logically happen. So we have these CCU ligaments in the back that tie the back of the foot all together, and so they are underneath the navicular bone too on either side. So what happens? If you can't have your toe back, well, I'm pulling the heel bulbs down under. So the CCU is pulling. Every time the navicular bone presses down, the CCU ligaments are coming together, and so we see the heels contract, and then they'll pull everything down underneath the hoof. So you'll see these heel bulbs get lower and lower, heels contract, frog cleft might even migrate forward. But if you have strong heel bulbs, so you have this fibrocartilage, and these CPLs, you'll be able to identify hooves, kind of see what distortions they have or what to expect externally. So instead, if you have strong heel bulbs and tug of war, navicular bone is pressing down, come back, somebody has to move. Nope, you can't have your toe. Nope, you can't have heel bulbs. So then what happens? The coffin bone gets pulled down. And the only way I know this is by seeing it in reverse and looking at these bones, and macroscopically as well. So these horses will get sole prolapse or coffin bone prolapse. So these are the results of the tug of war. I have on the left these weak heel bulbs. They don't have the CPL ligaments. They don't have fibrocartilage. They're easily distorted, so they fold in together. They pull together, pull down underneath the hoof. You get this bent appearance. The other type, when they have strong heel bulbs, ultrasound these horses, some have fibrocartilage. It's like, oh my God. So instead what happens, their coffin bones get pulled down, and then the navicular bone is also hammering on the CCU ligaments, so those get stretched and shredded. So this is a result of what you get with, unfortunately, horses with good caudal foot morphology. This is the way they go, and so in these really nice, hunter jumpers, sorry, yes?
So would that be safe to say that on horses with a 0 PA or negative PA, the navicular bone is always pressing against the teeth?
Sorry?
Is it safe to say that on horses with a negative palmar angle, the navicular bone would always be pressing against the teeth?
They're variable, so just looking at some of the navicular bone, just based on the standing radiographs, if they're pressing down and look like they are, then you know during coffin joint extension when they're moving, it's going to be even worse.
That makes the coffin bone flat?
Oh, that's a little different thing. So it may be the end stage though. So like these horses in the middle, these had CPL ligaments that cadaver hoof did, even had some fibrocartilage, but the coffin bone was pulled down, lost the tug of war. And then on the other side, on this right side, these are hooves that are end stage. So they're finally, their coffin bone's pulling down. There was nothing left in the back of the foot to pull down on, and so you get both. And these are even described in old textbooks. One thing I just noted on the side, just to be aware of, when the veterinarian prescribes, chlorine package or frog support, whatever, remember the deep flexor tendon is attached to the navicular bone. So when the navicular bone is going, the deep flexor is moving along with it. And if you notice, these are were given as examples of how to do these, get these palmar angles up, improve HPA. But I thought, again, don't look at radiographs. But now I'm starting to just try to stay in my own lane of ultrasound. And I thought, that looks weird, that navicular bone pressed way up there. And if you look at those fluoroscopy videos, that's the position it tends to be in when the coffin joint is flexed. So the navicular bone kind of tucks up underneath. And so this is a normal radiograph that I took out of podiatric, and you can see where the navicular bone is versus these two on the right. So be very careful, because you may be pressing that deep flexor navicular bone up into the position it would be in flexion. So what's that going to do? It's going to put tension on the impar ligament and deep flexor tendon attachment to the coffin bone at rest. And then what happens during locomotion and coffin joint extension? So if you find a horse is uncomfortable with this makeup, then maybe that's the reason. And then worth saying to whoever wants you to do this, hey, let's get another set of radiographs and let's make sure the navicular bone is in a copacetic position. So just something I noticed and just to keep an eye on.
Do you see a similar issue with park cars or anything that has a constant pressure on the frog?
I think that could be harmful, but it depends. I think there are ways to make it helpful, and that probably has to do with nail placement in the front of the hoof and keeping it behind the apex of the frog, possibly. And others that I'll show you at the end. There's an example where these bar shoes, if they're made, there will be pressure on it, but if the heels, if it's not flush with the frog, remember that deep flexor is going to come down. And if you have enough padding there, some horses do fine, but others, if you're saying, this horse is uncomfortable, I think that could be a reason. And there's also a reason to say, you know what, you can't go trotting this horse around seeing how much the fetlocks drop on these horses. Just need to be in rehab, just walk. So things to keep in mind, some devices work great depending on the distortion you have, others may backfire, and this may give you clues as to why. I thought, I wonder if, the frog, because we said how the standing hoof is not a loaded hoof, and seeing how much the fetlock drops and the flanges come down, I bet the frog bottoms out and mashes onto the ground. So all this notion about frog ground contact, like maybe not, especially with the standing horse. And I wonder if anybody videotaped the horse walking over plexiglass from the bottom, and leave it to Chris Pollock. He took a cadaver hood and at least did that. So it's hard to see, but he took a cadaver hoof and loaded it. So in other words, P2 and P1 are coming down, mashing down, and that frog cleft, I call it frog cleft, splatting out. And so one of the things I noticed, which you probably always have, is the frog cleft in healthy feet is right at the corner. So you don't want it on a solar surface like this poor thoroughbred where the skin literally was pulled down underneath the hoof along with the frog cleft. We got it back up a little bit. You can see how tense these tissues were, and then relaxed when we actually reduced tension on that deep flexor tendon. But this reason that the frog cleft is at the corner, I found realized is it's probably doing this. It's probably doing the splits. So just an interesting side, just piecing together why the anatomy is the way it is. And then the other thing to remember is the hoof capsule moves because the bones are moving. This isn't some magical mystery. The hoof does that. It's the bones are moving. And this is an example from Dr. Pott's video, just showing as the phalanges descend down, it's like move over. So they're expanding the heels. That's what's causing the heels to expand. Now, this was an interesting case. Unfortunately, I see so many of them where they are get lame, they improve a little bit with a PD, then you do an adaxial sesamoid, they block sound, and then they get ultrasounds, radiographs, and MRIs. So many of them are getting MRIs. And there's nothing really abnormal. There are a few changes, but they're like, there's not enough to cause lameness. And this is one of those situations. So this mare had developed lockable lameness, and she was in closed-toe shoes. The first veterinarian, outstanding veterinarian, did a PD block. She blocked 30%. He did a dorsal branch block, which nobody ever does anymore. And she blocked sound. And he said it's in her foot. And the owners wanted a second opinion. So the next younger vet comes along, does PD, same results, doesn't block completely. Oh, and the other vet had done coffin joint block and a pasture joint block, and she did not improve. So dorsal branch block, she improved. And the second vet, abaxial sesamoid block sound. So let's do all these diagnostics. And had ultrasound, MRI, yin-yang, shipped up to Kentucky 3 weeks later, and she had these chronic changes. Radiologists felt these were not a cause of lameness. I thought, this is crazy. These are old, inactive. This isn't causing her to be lame. And I picked up her foot, and she had sole prolapse, coffin bone prolapse. No wonder she had been lame. I said, let's take her out and talk her. And I stay in my own lane, so I just videotaped her on the pavement, running up and down, little tight circles. She looked good to me. Sent the videos to the first vet. He's like, yeah, she's sound. Because they pulled her shoes for the MRI. So a lot of horses are having these tests done when we don't even realize that there's a lot we can see on physical exam. And it's your opportunity to take the shoe off and see what you have to deal with. So anyway, the owners, after 2 months, said, let's get her back in shoes. So she's put in steel closed-toe shoes. And you can see the back just got her backed up, posture looks better, angle, but still had pretty bad prolapse and was very contracted. And now she's lame, really lame barefoot. Like, forget about it, she's going to be a broodmare, and we can try my shoes, see if we can get her prolapse back up. Had it work, she wanted to give it a go, and podiatrist didn't want to be part of that, so Eric Parsons was keen to give it a go. And after 1 month, I'm like, wait, whoa, I thought my shoe did the opposite, and instead it was shriveling the hoof capsule up. And I'm like, this is weird. But her sole was popping up and coming up, and she was exfoliating all this dead sole, and we just had to wait a bit. But the reason was, this is from Dr. Paul's video again, and it's an arteriogram. Look what happens to blood vessels when P2 presses down. So somehow we mobilized P2 to press on these blood vessels, and it just emptied everything out, but we just had to wait 1 more month, and boom, everything opened up again. So this was pretty amazing, but I was like, how did that hoof get so shriveled? And it was just blood leaving before it poured back in. And then these are her soles, so this is significant sole prolapse before, and then at month 1, where we had the shriveled up hoof capsule, that her soles looked better. You can see how she's starting to get her dome, so that's the deep flexor pulling up its attachment to the coffin bone, pulling that coffin bone up, and she's starting to exfoliate all this dead sole and get more live sole back in. And then finally at month 2, she's got much better concavity. So we'll sole map this. So take sole mapping to a whole nother level. So again, we talked about the bones and ligaments. So when you look at the frog, I want you to see all this stuff that it's covering. All right, the frog's not some mystery thing. It's an epithelial covering, and it reflects what is going on underneath. So we'll take off the cunion digital cushion, and we're left with the CPL ligaments, again, not in every horse, the 2 CCO ligaments, and a deep flexor in a standing horse. So if you imagine you're taking a nap in the field, you close your eyes and relaxing, and you hear thundering hooves, and you wake up and open your eyes just as this hoof is coming down on your face, but it's got the digital cushion and stuff, so it doesn't hurt. If you have MRI eyes, you can see through. What are you going to see? So you're going to see all these bones and the deep flexor tendon all coming down on you. And which leads to the question, how wide should the heels be? So again, I measure at the collateral roof exits at the back of the hoof. And you can see right there, well, it should be as wide as the bones that are coming down into that area. And I come up with the Reimer ratio, as I said before. So what is that piece of pie that the back part of the foot should be? That rubbery area of the sole, remember the frog's covering that, and these bones are going to come down. And it turns out somewhere between 19 to 21% hooves that have that nice parallel cartilage alignment. And then also it turns out that if you look at P12 width, it's going to be nearly similar to that number. So if you look at the articular surface of the coffin bone, it's generally a healthy coffin bone so far, preliminary, 2/3 the solar diameter of the coffin bone. And 2/3 the diameter of the circle is equal to 21% of circumference. So I woke up in the night saying, pi, oh my God, as in pi, 3.14. And if you can also use that to educate clients and to also get measurements that might give you some more impact on what you're trying to accomplish. And this is a 3-month-old thoroughbred foal, and it's palmar soft tissue width, so the distance across the back of the collateral grooves was 52 millimeters, and the Reimer ratio was 19%. And this horse, which was, this is going navicular disease, you can look at that film, go, this is bad. And he was starting to act blind going towards jumps. The owner was like, I feel like I'm riding a blind horse. I think he's going to stop. And then he starts to stopping, and 12-year-old thoroughbred, and his width across the back was 46 millimeters. And you can bet that's a lot narrower than his P2, P1 joint or any of the other bones. And his rhino ratio was under 12%. So that's when you're in trouble. So again, palmar soft tissue width is easy to measure, super easy, and can give you an idea. Okay, so many devices out there, so many methods of application. Like, how can you decide what to do? Are you doing the right thing? And if you're concerned about heel contraction, which we all should be, that palmar soft tissue width, you can measure it consistently. Is it going in the right direction? Even if it stays, that's an accomplishment, because so many things will cause the hoof to contract. And it may be nothing you do, maybe one of these hooves that are suicide hooves. So the other question is, how high should these caudal structures be? So the width, the height, plumb height from the exit of the flower grooves up to the hairline. How high should that be? And I think in most adults, thoroughbred type, warm blood types, it should be over 3 centimeters. And when you look at the layers, what am I actually measuring in that? So that's always like, what's under the bulbs? Because the answer is over there. And it turns out a lot is actually caudal sole depth. So again, you have that nice rubbery part of the sole, deep flexors coming down on all the phalanges. So that probably is going to relate to palmar angle and plantar angle. So when we start to see these horses get negative or 0, just look at the heel bulb height, and I think you're losing that caudal sole depth. And you need good digital cushion to maintain it. You need not to interfere with the flexor tendon function in whatever way you can. Then the second layer, which again, not in every horse, but in this horse, which was from a researcher, Unsullied, had a huge, nice, thick chondropulmonale ligament. And so that was over a centimeter. And then the rest, a little bit of the rest, I'm just measuring the outer edge of the digital cushion. So that's a really helpful measurement as well. So in these horses, you don't want to see those heel bulbs shrinking lower and lower, and you don't want to see them getting narrower and narrower. And some people say, oh, I'm making my heel bulbs higher, but they're shrinking everything together, and that's not good. So in archive.org, again, like, this stuff is everything you're still dealing with that unfortunately veterinary medicine has not really looked back at history. And this work was done in and at the time they also brought the new system of shoeing 200 years ago. It was a rocker toe shoe. I thought it was some new thing. It was 200 years ago. And you look at this diagrams, and you can see all these distortions we talked about. So we have on the upper right, you have the invaginated heel bulb still has that dome, and in the middle on the left, we have what they call the pumice hoof, which is the coffin bone prolapsing down. And then on the bottom, you have a healthy coffin bone and one after several years shoeing. So they recognized coffin bone distortion long ago, and it doesn't seem like my colleagues are concerned about it. They're keeping horses that are being rehabilitated for soft tissue injuries in devices that have resulted in this in the first place. So yeah, so this is due to coffin bone distortion. So these narrow tubular feet, the way they open up like that, that's the coffin bone that was distorted. Then I'm going to get into the symmetry dispute. And many of the fairies I've talked to say they have been taught that lateral is wider normally, and others say it should be symmetric. But in nature, you want mirror images left to right, not two hands like this. So who am I to say? But I say let's let the dead tell us. And I've learned a lot from the dead, as you can see. So here's the hoof. Do you know, racehorse, 3-year-old? Which hoof is this, right or left? Looks symmetric? Looks symmetric to me. I can't tell. Pardon? Right front? Well, we'll see. Nope, left front. So wider laterally, these are all, we all know which leg they are from the diagnostic lab. I'm talking to someone and I said, we know this was the left front. And I say the coffin bone, you can see is a tremendous amount of bone loss. This was the inside rail side. So he's probably got microavulsions and all bone loss from constant training and galloping and racing counterclockwise. So we believe that a lot of this pedal osteitis and bone loss are actually avulsions. But you can also see at the back of the coffin bone too on the palmar processes. All right, which hoof? Oh, there you go. So this was the right front, so wider laterally. So the hoof capsules don't match the coffin bones. These are enough forces that the coffin bones have been significantly distorted medial to lateral. So it's amazing how much you can affect the external capsule, and that is not cool with the coffin bone. Remember, we always see that the bones are not symmetric up and down the horse's leg. So they're going to be wider laterally normally, and that's what you'll see. And then if you look at the articular margins, so this outer side, you can see it's a longer, lower slope, and same on the outer wall. So even though this is a pretty messed up coffin bone with the bone loss, you can see the angles are different. So then this horse, you know, he's got maybe running on 2 left feet. He's wider on the medial side of the right front's on the right, left front's on the left, wider on these 2 sides. Looks pretty symmetric, side to side, head on. But what does his bones tell us? So they tell us that they're wider laterally and don't match the hoof capsules. And then you look at the front, and again we have that longer lower slope when you look at it head on the lateral side. So we're losing that. And actually an article by Kane in the American Journal of Veterinary Research looked at incidence of breakdowns and soft tissue injuries, catastrophic soft tissue injuries, and stated that shoeing horses to medial-lateral symmetry or trimming is not a good idea based on what he was finding on these breakdowns. So I think that's something most veterinarians feel wider laterally is normal, especially in adult horses. Maybe different in a young growing individual or smaller horses, but if you want to force it, you may be causing more problems than you want. Another dead telling a story. So, right front or left front? It's actually wider on this side over here. So you say, well, it must be, left front, but it's not. So it's the right front. And you can see the coffin bone is very narrow, and it was paper flat. So this also had flattened coffin bones or prolapsed coffin bone. And you can see the lateral side still was lower, longer angle on the lateral side. So just keep in mind, we may be forcing hoof capsule changes on and that are not matching the bones at all. And when we look a little more closely at this, okay, so head on, looking at this on the medial side, there's bone loss on the toe margin. So this horse has lost bone on that side. And also if you see the prolapse in the back of the coffin bone, the reason I know this is prolapse, not an exostosis or bony proliferation, is because I see these get sucked back up when we put my device on. And they're usually on the medial side where the soles prolapse more. That's where they get sore. And they want to land lateral side first, and then lateral side. Oh, they've always done that. They've had this coffin bone prolapse forever. And the only reason I know it's a deformity or a distortion is because I've seen it again reverse. And also the coffin bone is mostly cancellous bone, so it's far more malleable than I ever realized, and I think anybody thought. And you can see where I lined up the terminal arch and the quarters line. You can see how that side is pulled down. It's actually pulled down. It's much lower than the lateral side, and then you can see the toe, the bottom arrow, or line showing how that toe margin is lifted way up. So if you're using radiographs to kind of decide medial lateral balance on a distorted hoof capsule, chances are coffin bones prolapsed or distorted too. So it can be, you just need to say, wait, let's just decontract the hoof first because it's really screwed up. How can you decide what to do? And then this one, right? This 4-year-old. Notice how he's got wider medial sides, we've got right on the right, left on the left, and severe sole prolapse on the right, like pronounced. And then you see these, you'll see these on race horses or horses with flat soles. They get these bumps right at the end of the bars, and people will carve them up, think it's extra sole, and it's a little more than that. So when I took off the hoof capsule, this is the right front, you can see those bulges right on either side, right there and there. I was like, what are these? You know what they were? Bone and the CCU ligament. So these are the CCU ligaments that now I understand have pulled that coffin bone down. And these are actually because this coffin bone was pulled down and the CCU ligaments were so prominent, it was right there. So when you see these bumps and extra, what seems to be extra sole, it's just protruding sole because there's this going on internally. You can see a very flattened out coffin bone. And here's this coffin bone, it's like flattened out butterflies. And then when you feel these bones, you'll actually be able to feel how this part right here is protruding. And that's where the CCU ligament attaches. So every step this horse takes, the navicular bone's pressing down and pulling. This horse had, still had CPL ligaments in the back, so it's like heel bolts aren't going down, and you're not having to toe back, so it's like we're going to pull you down. And so they're just being pulled down by the deep flexor and CCU ligament attachments. But it's amazing to feel how flattened these are, and you can compare the two bones, which is probably a better comparison here, but just looking at the difference and realizing these horses are on their deep flexor tendons, so very hard to maintain.
Do you think it's significant that they have such a large dorsal toe notch?
Yes, I think that's vascular, so I'm interested in looking more at that, but yeah, I think that's all bone loss, and I think it's probably the first spot to go when perfusion is affected. And then this was a surprise. So I got a macro lens for my iPhone, wanting to look at the anatomy closer, because I realized everybody's doing these digital cushion analyses, taking chunks and then looking at it under the microscope, and I know you're missing the whole. You gotta see what you're taking, because these are small ligaments, you can see all the structures there. So I got a macro lens to look more closely and thought, oh wow, I can look at the coffin bones and look at these vascular channels, and so cool. And so this is a millimeter vascular channel right there, and this is on the surfaces of going to medial and lateral and dorsal surfaces. And this is that horse spiked surface of a coffin bone. So as the coffin bone is being pulled down, the collagen bundles that attach the coffin bone to the sublamellar dermis, I have to look all these words up in my window, are actually being pulled. These are actually, it's almost exostoses, where the bone is being pulled on by these collagen bundles. So this, though, is not, it's dramatic on both coffin bones. So this was probably recent. And other coffin bones that I looked at that they're prolapsed externally on the cadaver hooves, and then the coffin bones are flattened out. They don't have this, so I suspect it resorbs over time. So these bone spikes probably do resorb, which then you're left still with this bone, even though you might get the dome back, there's still not a normal attachment. One of those horses got laminitis. That's not good. So I took one of the healthy coffin bones and superimposed it, tried to match it up with that 4-year-old's bone. And this is what's going on. So as the bones are being pulled down, the palmar processes are being splayed out. So this is something to keep in mind when people say, oh, no, you're not doing this barefoot trim right. Like, you can't trim a horse with a coffin bone like that the same way you would with one that's healthy. I mean, they're just a mess. So when you see these flattened or prolapsed soles, we have to recognize that that's coffin bone distortion in most of the cases, in my experience, because when we put my shoe on, the deep flexor is able to, they'll beam you back up, Scotty. We have this amazing thing happened. So they pull it all back up. And so kind of final thoughts. My veterinary colleagues they never talk about coffin bone distortion. And it was discussed in textbooks or books 200 years ago. And we keep these horses chronically shod, we do sport horse medicine, we expect you to maintain it and then tell you you're doing things wrong when it fails. So we have to recognize that the coffin bone gets distorted. And then there's all these universities with CT imaging equipment. And wouldn't it be cool to just follow some of these coffin bones with CT imaging, 3D printout? Like these are 3D printouts from CT images, on this cadaver hoof. So that would be good to know, like just kind of evaluate how much distortion is actually going on. I'm just telling you based on the dead and the living, but now to really know, that would be very interesting to do, and knowing which devices are causing it. Some of the devices for laminitis, they might even be making us worse. Wouldn't it be nice to know? And let's see. Oh, right, we talked about this. So this is the norm in my practice, unfortunately. So these are valuable horses. They get lame and closed toe shoes. They get all these diagnostics. They don't generally block well to the PD. And so when they block higher, everything's okay. They got to have an MRI, and I don't find anything on ultrasound. And it's a situation where and I don't know, sometimes I'll look at the shoe and I'm like, God, that looks like the sole's awfully close there. And you pull it off, and then 3 days later, they're sound, comfortable footing. So I think this is an underdiagnosed, very underdiagnosed condition. And veterinarians are making gobs of money off of it, doing all these diagnostic tests, and they're like, oh, we didn't really find anything in an MRI. What do we do now? And these horses, some of them are irreversibly damaged. Their CCU ligaments are stretched. Their tracunian digital cushion is stretched. These are ones that are going to be difficult to maintain. So important to catch that ahead of time. And so even though if you measure the heel bone dimensions, all looks good, remember those horses are going to have a tendency, if you fight with it, get into battle with the hoof, so you can't have your toe back, they're going to end up pulling the coffin bone down. So really important to just keep an eye on the dome and the sole contour on these guys. They can creep up on you. Again, I don't look at radiographs that much, but starting to a little more. And one thing I noticed was from Hoof Solutions and Dr. Taylor's Goodfoot horse. These were, healthy or cadaver feet versus other ones. Is all this solar soft tissue underneath the tip of the coffin bone. And so when we're measuring sole depth, to me, shouldn't we also be measuring that layer there? Because it's amazing. There's not much on other horses that I see live or dead. So this is another thing we should be considering when we're saying, oh, look at all this sole depth I got. And oftentimes they're just contracting the foot and getting all this retained sole, and the solar soft tissues are being atrophied. So I think that's really important to start looking at that more. And my colleagues have been ignoring the heel wolf distortions. We all have, because we thought it was a passive thing, and it's just, it is what it is. Digital cushion squishy, it's coming and going, and hopefully you learned today that is far from the case. There's important underlying anatomy, and unfortunately, what has happened also is that theories were proposed that shoes are bad because, these horses were getting Navicular syndrome, they're having all these problems, so shoes must be bad, and they must be bad because they're made of metal. The frogs off the ground. Their nails, all those things are bad. So then people started using plastic, glue-on things, all this, and we fail to recognize that the reason shoes are bad is because of fixing the toe portion of the hoof capsule. And everything else that you use, you have to be careful. It doesn't matter if it's a clog or anything, that they're going to do as much damage, if not more, if the toe portion of the hoof capsule is fixed. And this was clients for us again, our farriers said, let's just use these glue-on hoof boots. And there may be ways, like any device that's bad, we shouldn't just dismiss it and think, maybe we can prostify the situation, so make this still a viable tool to use, just apply it in a different manner. So, but in this case, the farrier said, hey, we'll put these glue-on hoof boots on. And even though the manufacturer says no more than 5 to 10 days, he said, nah, we leave these on for weeks at a time on these yearlings. We'll do 2 sets. And then we got a thick enough sole we can nail a shoe on them for the sales. And so now my colleagues in Florida are seeing tiny little hooves like that. But this is what these hoof boots did to this back of the horse's foot. So just shrunk it all up. Everything folded in and downward, got sucked underneath the hoof. And it took 7 months even to get partway back. And the other horse, he did too. Same thing happened. Just look how that whole back of the hoof is just rolled in. Heel bulb's getting lower and lower. So the shoe's got a bad rap. You know, I mean, I use metal, and I didn't use nails because I'd probably make a mess and probably nail my finger. So just need to be very cautious. And I think my colleagues or whatever have not really pursued the reason certain devices are bad. And a lot of it, I think, is fixing that toe capsule. And unfortunately, shoes got a bad rap, and so now everybody's like, oh, frog on the ground, frog on the ground. And hopefully you realize that sometimes there is nothing there. The deep flexor is very close. There's no cuning digital cushion. And the last thing that hoof needs is for that horse to be mashing the deep flexor on nothing in the back. So I'm hoping things will change. And veterinarians are known for castrating other species. And these are actually 2 colleagues that shoot horses, and these are their favorite devices, regardless of what's going on the horse. And this on the right was a 5-year-old racehorse, and I'm taking care of, a soft tissue injury, and they're dealing with the feet. And I'm like, oh my God, the last thing that horse needs is to be out on the track galloping with low heel bulbs like that and mashing it down on that metal plate. So, you might need to use a device with this sort of thing, but also remember, it depends on what the horse is doing and what's going to happen. So this horse was going to go back to the track, and so when he got back to the track, their exercise rider like, nah, get him out of these, he's miserable. And this horse, too, same thing, got miserable and put in this device, and it was very frustrating. It was a favorite package of this person. And unfortunately, I've been involved with this horse for hind limb soft tissue injury, and he had very narrow heels. I ultrasounded his heels, and he actually had this fibrocartilage in the back of the heel. So it's this dark tissue that you can see on ultrasound. Cartilage has a lot of water in it, so it's going to show up black, and it's amazing. So Dr. Taylor said, can you take an ultrasound? I was like, no, digital cushion's so boring. And I'm like, no, that's actually pretty interesting. So bad on me. But anyway, I was like, oh my God, I still have fibrocartilage there. So while he's rehabbing, let's just give him a break. Hopefully, we'll keep him from getting worse with his contraction. But keep him being comfortable footing. But somebody pulled a shoe, and they probably aggressively trimmed, it's amazing. Like, you look at these capsules, and you have no idea. When I dissect them, there's so little sole depth, and I would have no idea looking at the outside. So a lot of the people I've seen just say, oh, we're going to get rid of all this hoof wall. And that's why I say farriers should be paid so much for just evaluating a hoof and just saying, nope, there's nothing to do today, and be paid for that evaluation, and little bits at a time, because as we talked about, the deep flexor is going to say, oh, I'll take that back, and then you're going to have a little extra wall, and you just back it up a little bit at a time, because you don't want to make these horses late, and then you defeat the whole purpose. So anyway, he got sore, they took radiographs, and he was a conic rotation. He was moving beautifully in front, like amazing, like a warm blood, just gorgeous. So now, he put in this device, and you can see, hopefully, how the walls, side walls, just folded in. And the heel bulbs are shriveled up now, and then sickeningly, this fibrocartilage on the left panel, the bottom left panel, you can see how it's all scrunched together. Those black loops are scrunched together. And on this side, so the frog spine's going to be in the middle. I'm scanning around the back of the heel bulbs. And here we have fibrocartilage. There it's gone. So significant damage. And this horse was even though it was sore, like, nope, he's got to derotate. So make him navicular.
And what is that in that picture? I can't even tell.
Which part?
On the left?
On the left?
Yeah, the device you're saying you got put on there that you
Oh,
do any good? What is
yeah,
that?
so it's got some kind of firm stuff under the frog and wedge, and that was the decontraction device, or derotation device. Sorry? Oh, it was, they said, oh, he's sore, we gotta take radiographs, and then, oh, we gotta do this, so unfortunately, I don't, it was, I think from this device that he got sewed, and then he was sore too, and oh no, he's gotta work through it. So if you see a horse not doing so well, hopefully now you have a knowledge of the anatomy, you can fight with my colleagues that might insist, no, you gotta do this. I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then be careful when, when you're telling the hoof to come back. You give this caudal leverage to the flexor tendon, yet you're pinning it down at the toe. That's like, girlfriend's going to go psycho on you. You want me to leave or you want me to stay? And so then hooves behave badly. So I think some of these, again, that Martin Kinney wrote a paper, a little study by nail placement. He didn't have as much distortion by keeping his nails behind the apex of the frog, or center of energy, as he called it. And then some people said, oh, we can beef up the heel bulbs. And to me, these look engorged, but they're actually it's like everything's being squeezed together, pulled down underneath the hoof, because it is. So if something looks engorged and beefy, it may be like we put an elastrator band on it. Another thing to keep in mind is this palmar soft tissue width. So when the heels are contracting, and this horse had become lame, closed-toe shoes, sole prolapse, but also wickedly contracted. And when we got him rehab, opened up his heels, and he was had been contracted by an inch. And his proximal hoof circumference didn't change that much. So that meant that wall was stretched over that 1 inch area. So it's stretched all the way back. And you can imagine what that's going to do to lamellar circulation. So it's important to realize, what would the venogram look like on a horse like this? Another reason to measure those heels. And then this hoof, it needed a trim. It was a racehorse. He hadn't raced yet. It was barefoot training. And yeah, I would have loved to get out in first, but I don't work on other people's horses. I just work with farriers. And I was like, wow, he's got this awesome heel base. Like, it would be so rewarding to trim that. It would just come back a little more great. But massive heel bulb volume, great heel base. And a year later, I said, hey, is that horse still around? And he had gone off and ran a bit. And they put him in shoes 3 months after the first photo and kept him actually at a regular schedule every 4 weeks. And when I went to look at him, I'm like, these look like typical feet. And measured him, and both feet have contracted the same amount. So their hoof circumference, coronary vein circumference, shrunk. The area under the bulb, the primal ratio, and the palmar soft tissue height decreased. So all these tissues disappeared. And you'll see from Dr. Taylor's talk that a lot of these tissues, these dimensions, which we did the heel bulb measurements on, increased and improved, and then she has the radiographs and photographs to go along with that. So important to realize. Some people say, oh, these horses weren't exercised. They were kept in a stall most of the time. But I think it's important to realize that when you track the hoof, and we'll find out towards the end here, stuff's still moving on the inside. And there's a battle going on. So these horses may be better off not moving too much. And that may be the one thing that's saving them versus others that are constantly pounded on treadmills, etc., and they may distort more easily. So we have to acknowledge the importance of heel bulb distortions on the veterinarian side, and help educate clients. Like, you need to get your farrier involved in trimming and maintaining, and do resetting shoes as needed, and giving them some barefoot breaks, or looking at other methods so the horses can continue and work. Because athletes, they don't take a few months off; they have to keep going. And unfortunately, we have these horses in year-round competition, and owners like, no, my horse cannot go barefoot, no, and you're stuck, and then eventually there's going to be a problem, and it's going to be your fault, instead of us saying, we did not educate clients, and we have not promoted the farrier profession in doing more barefoot stuff as far as taking a break or finding other devices that work, and making sure that you are paid to go out and evaluate a hoof, and if you do nothing, your knowledge is worth a lot of money, and your travel and your time. This is what happened. So this horse was passed on a pre pre-purchase exam for a lot of money. And you can see this is a disaster. You know, he's very narrow. He's narrower than the P2 and P1 and the heels. He's probably a little bit narrower than the deep flexor tendon coming down on there. This is just a disaster. He's very contracted. And it was told that the other farrier had caused imbalance. And he's like, oh no, this is not the farrier's fault at all. This is veterinary medicine's fault. Okay. So I think farriers should be involved in pre-purchase exams and be able to when the shoe's off. And then just to show how this little video clip from the study I showed you was a preliminary study, 4 cycles on 1 foot bare and on 1 foot shod, and they found that the coffin joint was extended less when the shoe was nailed. A shoe was applied but nailed in front of the apex of the frog with a toe clip, and the pastern joint was extended more with the shoe on. And I thought, well, that has to do with coffin bone motion, probably. And if you look, I tried to match these up. It's subtle, but it may give us a clue that the one on the left is where the toe is fixed to the device. And to me, it's like, oh, I'm not moving as freely, especially in the back part. A little bit of a clue there. This was just a pilot study, and so I think we can learn more. But also, you can use your eyes and hands to figure that out and talk a little bit about closed-toe shoes. And this farrier team and vet team have had great success in England with them. But notice, their nails are behind the apex of the frog, and they have that tapered toe. They have a nice wide area for the back of the foot, the frog, to land on with the deep flexor. So maybe revisit that, and you can probably select horses that still have caudal foot morphology that's decent. They're hanging in there. They may respond better than the ones with vaginated heel bolts. So there's a lot of ways we can look at devices that have been used in the past and maybe dismissed, but look at them in a different light. And unfortunately, clients think, well, this horse made lots and lots of money, so this is healthy. And unfortunately, they think this is normal, and it's not normal, and it's not a problem until it's a problem. So unfortunately, we have to educate the clients a bit more. And navicular syndrome, oh my God, the horse magazine. Oh, we don't know what causes it. Go to archive.org. 200 years ago, it was a new name to call it navicular disease. Podiatric, although it's trying to be rebranded, was proposed by Chris Pollock 30 years ago. But 200 years ago, navicular disease with a new name. You know what the name of the disorder was before that? Contracted feet. So they knew back then these were chronically shod, meaning a device that's fixing the hoof to some degree, and that was invariably seen in them. So one thing I want to leave you with is the hoof is moving a lot inside, and this is at a slow jog or trot. Bones are moving. And if you imagine 2.5 times that in a gallop, so I want you to imagine that the hoof capsule is like a carrier for a kitty cat that you take to the vets. So it looks all nice and quiet, but it's really moving along.